A number of years ago, I used to be an artist on the Dr. Z amplification roster, and I gotta say, I really loved those amps. I actually owned a couple of their Maz series amps, the Maz 38 and the Maz 18, and those were just killer amps. I used those on a bunch of records and also to play a lot of live gigs, and I really do miss those amps. Now, what kind of got me back thinking about the Dr. Z amps lately is I recently grabbed a Dr. Z Z-Rec Junior amp. And I gotta say, it's become one of my favorite amps ever. And that kind of reminded me, we have a great Dr. Z amp in our Helix. We have the Route 66. Now, a cool story about that amp. A number of years ago, I attended the Dr. Z Z Fest, which was kind of like an annual festival they would have for Dr. Z fans, and shall I even say fanatics. And they would have a big jam night. Brad Paisley was actually known to show up to some of these. I was never, unfortunately, at one where he showed up. Would have been amazing to meet him and get to see him play. But I did get up to jam on stage, and there was a whole back line of Dr. Z amps, and I got to plug into a Route 66 amp. I remember just cranking this up, guitar straight into it, and jamming on a few tunes, and I just remember going, wow, this is incredible. So much fun to just let this amp open up. So today, in this episode of Helix Amps Revisited, we are going to take a look at the Interstate Z amp that we have in the Helix, and I gotta say, it's an amazing amp. So later in the video, I'm gonna play you a demo of this tone in the mix, and that's going to be actually a combination of all of the snapshots of my full featured preset, which is available at the Line 6 Marketplace. I have it available, the full featured one for Helix, and I have stripped down versions available for Stomp and Podgo. The links to those will be below, but this preset I'm going to show you today is very stripped down compared to that. No effects. It's tweaked just a little bit different than the full featured preset packages, but this free preset is going to be available at my website at the link below. You can grab that and mess around with it and tweak it however you feel you need to. Without further ado, let's dive over to HX Edit and see what we have going with this preset. All right, so here we are over in HX Edit, and what I have is my normal chain here, my LA Studio Comp at the end, peak reduction of 5, gain at 5, mix at 100% on this one. Remember, this is just an always on thing for me. It's barely kissing the sound. I'm maybe getting a dB or a dB and a half of gain reduction there. I just like the way it kind of glues everything together at the end. And this LA Studio Comp, which is a model of the LA2A compressor, really does a nice job at that. I also have the parametric EQ block on. It is just simply doing a low cut and a high cut. Low cut at 100 hertz, high cut at 12 kilohertz. A lot of people say, well, why are you using the parametric? Why don't you just use a high and low shelf block or use the cab block for that? And the answer is that sometimes, depending on where I am, if I want to make a little tweak to a preset, I have that parametric block already loaded in, and I can make a quick tweak without having to mess with my blocks. As far as reverb, I used the Legacy Room Verb with a pretty high decay of 9. Obviously, you can cut that back if you prefer something else. High cut around 3.7 kilohertz and a mix of 33%. I also have the low and high shelf EQ, all frequencies set at 650 hertz for low frequency and high frequency. All the frequencies below 650 cut back by 2 dB. All the frequencies above 650 boosted by 4 dB. So on to the amp block, I actually chose for a cab the firmware 3.5 212 double C12N, which may seem like an odd combination for some folks, but I was really enjoying this. 121 ribbon mic, position as a cap edge, distance 3 inches back, angle of 0 degrees, and that was the cab. And here are the amp settings. Drive setting of 3, bass is at 8.7, mid is at 4.8, treble at 4.9, presence at 4.3, channel volume at 10, master at 10, sag at 6.8, hum at 3.8, ripple at 5, bias at 6.5, and bias X at 5. So let's go to the end of our chain here. I'm going to shut everything off that I kind of have extra in here. And this is just our amp and our cab. And by the way, this is going to be suitable for Stomp. It should work just fine for Stomp or for Helix. I am playing my Vigier Expert Strat style guitar on the bridge pickup. Really nice tone, but it does need a little bit of refinement. Okay, the biggest thing that I'm going to find is going to affect this is my low and high shelf EQ. Here is without. So it really cleans up some of those lower mids, gives it a little more sparkle. Just makes it a little bit more mix ready, whether we're talking about studio or live. Even switching to the neck pickup now, it's going to sound a lot nicer. That's going to be kind of muddy without it. So really nice stuff there. Adding the reverb in. Doing what reverb does. Very nice. Add in our low and high cut, very subtle here. Back to the bridge pickup. And then finally, our compressor at the end. Back to the neck pickup. And there you have it. That's the tone. I was just loving that. You know, I'm not a big fan of like ultra clean tones. I mean, they do have their purpose, but I always like my clean sounds to have just a little bit of, shall we say, hair on them or edge on them. And I find that helps a cut in the mix. And that's exactly what this does the way it's dialed in. So how does it sound in the mix? Well, what you're going to hear now is the audio mix video demo of my Interstate Z Ultimate preset for the Helix. That's going to be a much more full-featured preset than this. Multiple snapshots, a full array of effects dialed in just perfectly, and it sounds like this. All right, what did you guys think? I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, go grab the full-fledged presets from the Line 6 Marketplace. There's the Interstate Z Ultimate for the Helix, the Interstate Z Stomp, and the Interstate Z Pod Go, which are pretty self-explanatory what those are for. Make sure you get the right one. I do get people grab the wrong presets that aren't compatible with their system, and you got to be careful about that. Obviously, a Pod Go preset's not going to work for Helix or vice versa. And any Helix preset that has anything that's going to make it non-compatible with the Stomp is also not going to load into our Stomp. So we got to be careful careful of that and get the right one for your particular device. You can also grab the free preset below at my website if you want to just mess around with that first to try it out before committing to the full bundle. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you sharing your time with me. Please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. And also please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.